maybe 20% of any leaders have any clue at all about anything to do with purpose. And most of them are about noble purposes. There's other stuff that really is not what we're talking about. The data shows that if you work for somebody who has clarity of purpose, you get all kinds of upside. It's enormous, the positive consequence. What's interesting is that another study shows for employees who have a sense of meaning, once again, you get this enormous lift in return. If you have two companies that are making similar products that are competing, I can't think of anything that would make more of a difference than if the organization had clarity about its purpose and the people did, and the connection between the two was clear. You get something you can't get otherwise. Ben & Jerry's, you walk into the store, there's a lot of other stuff sitting on the shelf. There's a lot of local stuff we now see on the shelf, but it's growing double digits still because the people inside the organization have clarity of purpose themselves, and the organization does, and it gets you a whole different arc. My view is that all organizations of the 21st century who are going to survive and be around 10 years from now are going to have this as a core ingredient. It's going to be non-negotiable. This is the field book for authentic leadership. I sat down with Bill George in 2007 and could finish his sentences and had figured out how to make this thing work. And we basically turned it into a whole curriculum that's been used for the MBA class at Harvard, second-year class for Harvard for the last 10 years. And when we did it, there was 12 topics, and there was a couple who I really liked. It was Crucible, Sweet Spot, and Purpose was in there because we had to have it in there. It was just number 9 on the hit list, that's all. The first client I get is GE working with the top 300. At Crotonville. Now, if there's ever a place in your life you would not want to pilot something you've never done before, this is it. This is not a population that is really easy. I got to work with them from 2007 to 2009, and the stock went from 56 to 6. There was a point in which basically there was no bottom. What happened was, as we did the purpose work, we would have these leaders come back to the program as alumni, and they'd come up to me and they'd say, Nick, in the old days, when we had to close down plants and do tough things, I'd say to the group, listen, for you guys, it's going to be a tough year. It's going to be really challenging. You're not going to see your family much, but I'm going to give you a whole bunch of stock options, some other stuff. You'll be okay. And the guy says, now I went back. All the stock options have no value. I got no stock options to give them. The only thing I could give them that I could stand on was my purpose. Because everything else, all the extrinsics had been stripped away. He said, look, my purpose is to help you have a great adventure when all hell breaks loose. And you know what? Right now, all hell's breaking loose, and I'm going to live my purpose. And if you're going to stay, you're going to stay because that's why you're staying. He says, not only did they stay, but they turned around the business. And then I went, ooh, this thing has legs. What's going on here? If you can work in the most difficult place on the planet, what would it look like if you did it someplace really fun? The fun thing shows up. Unilever, 2009, wonderful history of doing some really crazy, amazing leadership development stuff. And Paul Polman becomes CEO, and he has this crazy, challenging agenda. They're about a $40 billion company. They decide that he's going to grow it to $80 billion by 2020. But not just that, he's going to basically create a sustainable living plan. And he's going to reduce the company's overall environmental footprint by 50%, and the whole sustainable agricultural procurement process, and really put procurement on the leading edge of creating a company that can actually be viable in the 21st century. Now, one of these is easy. Both of these is really, really hard to do. We get the assignment to help these guys. We do the 4-day program, Authentic Leadership. We take from column A, we take 8 of the 12 topics, and we run them, and it's all great, all powerful, 4 years, and the alumni come back. And we say, okay, what'd you get? Well, here's what they said. Purpose is the magic that makes everything work. There's no other way to grow that fast and do an environmental footprint reduction at the same time unless you're completely crazy or you have a purpose. Purpose creates we, not I, goals and actions. Their leadership development plans went from here's how I'm going to make it to the top and be wonderful to here's how we change the world. And my purpose is this, and every leader had a purpose and a whole plan for how they were going to live their purpose that Paul Polman, the CEO, reviewed for the top 400. And he gave feedback on every one of the plans. And it wasn't just nice plan. It was like, interesting, let's sit down, we need to talk about such and such. Purpose resolves the crazy paradoxes of leading like nothing else. So when all hell breaks loose, the purpose will take care of you in a way that nothing else can. Each of us has that in us. And each of us, the challenge with purpose is not to find a purpose. It is to reconnect with the one that has always been ours. Lead Credit Suisse's new marketing department to achieve exceptional business results. If you can be fired from it, it's not your purpose. But many leaders will, they go right here, and you're like, okay, wait a minute. Really? How about this one? To be the driver of the infrastructure business that allows each person to achieve their needed outcomes while also mastering the new drivers of a business that advance my family, blah, 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 blah. If you can't remember at the end what you said at the beginning, it's not your purpose. But the challenge is, if I ask most people to write down your purpose right now, you're going to get something that looks like this, which is hopefully somewhere in there is a purpose. Continually, consistently develop and facilitate the growth and development of myself and others leading to great performance. If HR loves it, it is not your purpose. It's got all the right words. I mean, look at it. You know, you just pick from column A and column B, put it together, you know, right? Right? It's not your purpose. Save the whales. It's not your purpose. Now, a cause, and we've seen a number of these the last couple of days, are a strategy by which you bring your purpose to. So having a cause is helpful, but not sufficient. Who you are and what makes you distinctive. Look, like I took any of you, and I took you out of your roles, and I put someone in just as good as you, really just as good as you. And 3 months later, I interviewed everybody and said, okay, what do you miss? The answer to that question is your purpose. The magic that you bring that no one else can bring is the gift that you are, is the purpose. The purpose is the how that you bring to any job. Purpose is, whether you're the janitor or the CEO, it's how you do the job. It's what you bring that no one else brings. Really, the work we're going to do today is not about finding anything. It's reconnecting. What we're trying to do is to make the neural connections stronger. You have experiences in which purpose is fully formed and amazingly present for you. The challenge is you don't have easy access. 3 major sources that I've discovered as purpose. I find the magical moments in your childhood is where purpose tends to show up. There's a curious little boy and girl inside of each of us that deserves to be in the front seat of the car. But as we get into the corporate world and we grow up, at some point we put them in the trunk, sometimes for safekeeping. But the problem is we forget to take them back out. Those crucibles, mine was a crucible story I told you today that in some ways birthed me into my purpose. If all hell wasn't breaking loose, I would have not found those books and I would have not discovered the thing that I'm really here to do. Something we love doing that no matter what anybody else cares, we have to do it. And whenever we do it, it sings our soul for us. The beauty of your purpose is it will resolve the paradox that each of us is. And we will finally say, I'm home. This is who I am. Purpose is not a concept. It's not a theory. It's a visceral experience. And as I'm having this conversation with Julie, I want you to notice, when do you think it starts to show up? Do you have a sense of what your purpose is?
Well, I actually had what I thought was the thing, the right purpose. And then I realized it was the purpose that an HR person would love.
So tell me a story from your childhood that's a magical moment for you that has some connection with some of those words, but really is sort of just something that really sings to you.
When I was a young girl, I loved to sing.
Do you have a particular moment when you were doing that with other people around?
It was her, all of our sisters, some friends singing Beatles songs.
What's the part of it that really most you have the connection with? Is it the singing or is it the connection with the others?
It's the connection of the others and the feeling of soaring and taking flight because you hear all of the harmonies coming together.
Okay, so she just stepped a little bit into purpose. You notice that? Notice how she used those words? the soaring and connecting and the harmony and bringing it all together. Now she's saying that there's a little more of who she is that starts to show up. So what did you love doing as a teenager?
I loved running. When I was running and I realized that I wasn't very fast and was probably never going to make the track team, but I didn't care because running was so much fun anyway.
And what about it was so enjoyable for you?
Probably on country roads with, endless horizon, think South Dakota skies.
So we're starting to get a sense of what the curious little girl is like. What's something you're passionate about these days, or that's been part of your life for a while?
Skydiving.
Why am I not surprised? So tell us about skydiving.
The best part about skydiving is the community and the safety and space that we create for each other.
So can you take us on the plane? What's it like?
Okay, so first of all, you've got 20 people all sitting next to each other, all mentally rehearsing and preparing for what it is that they're going to be doing next. So they might be doing a solo skydive, or they might be doing a 4-way formation or an 8-way formation. But in the plane, there's one mission that everyone has a good time but comes home safe. And in individual formations, there's different adventures that they're trying to have. You might be trying to turn 4 points or get into a formation or to do a flock. And after you get over being scared to death, part of what you focus on is, can I get to my spot? Can I do what I need to do for my team and be present for my team? But as you're leaving the plane, everyone together, I'll demonstrate with you, we can go like this and then like this. So everyone on the plane connects and stays together to be safe. And then we go out and we have our adventures and we fly.
So this is what purpose looks like when it really shows up, right? I mean, she is so in her purpose that she's doing that. That's like such a beautiful expression. What we're looking for is a metaphorical reference that helps us step into the magic that we are. And so in the last year, what's your most enjoyable experience?
My most enjoyable experience is seeing my young daughter direct a play about an emotional topic that was the central struggle of her life, and do a beautiful job of it, and be so courageous, and to be supportive of her there.
There's the motion here now, yes? And this is about your daughter and connection. So what's happening is what's coming up?
Creating safe space and letting people have their adventures.
That's your purpose. That's your purpose.